Good afternoon, and welcome to the 35th Annual Charles A. Goldmark Award Luncheon. My name is Nick Brown, and I am a partner at Pacifica Law Group and a member of the Campaign for Equal Justice Board. It is my honor to be your host and MC for today's luncheon. As you all know, the past year was not an ordinary year. Since the last time we gathered, we entered a pandemic that we are still enduring. The movement for racial justice has taken on new life, and we have new national leadership, including our first woman of color and as Vice President of the United States. In the midst of all this change and turmoil, we are grateful that you are here with us to join and celebrate for a cause that we care for deeply, access to justice. So let's get started. If needed today, you can access closed captioning by clicking on the link in the chat box or on the campaign page below. We are going to begin the program by inviting you to listen to the words of the justices of our Washington Supreme Court, set forth last year in an open letter urging the legal community to take action to confront racism and inequity in the justice system.
Dear members of the judiciary and the legal community, the devaluation and degradation of Black lives is not a recent event. It is a persistent and systemic injustice that predates this nation's founding.
But recent events have brought to the forefront of our collective consciousness a painful fact that is, for too many of our citizens, common knowledge. The injustices faced by Black Americans are not relics of the past.
We continue to see racialized policing and the overrepresentation of Black Americans in every stage of our criminal and juvenile justice systems. Our institutions remain affected by the vestiges of slavery, Jim Crow laws that were never dismantled, and racist court decisions that were never disavowed.
The legal community must recognize that we all bear responsibility for this ongoing injustice and that we are capable of taking steps to address it, if only we have the courage and the will.
If only we have the courage and the will.
If only we have the courage and the will.
The injustice still plaguing our country has its roots in the individual and collective actions of many, and it cannot be addressed without the individual and collective actions of us all.
As lawyers and members of the bar, we must recognize the harms that are caused when meritorious claims go unaddressed due to systemic inequities or the lack of financial, personal, or systemic support. And we must also recognize that this is not how a justice system must operate.
Finally, as individuals, we must recognize that systemic racial injustice against Black Americans is not an omnipresent specter that will inevitably persist. It is the collective product of each of our individual actions, every action, every day.
It is only by carefully reflecting on our actions, taking individual responsibility for them, and constantly striving for better that we can address the shameful legacy we inherit.
We call on every member of our legal community to reflect on this moment and to ask ourselves how we may work together to eradicate racism. As we lean in to do this hard and necessary work, may we also remember to support our Black colleagues by lifting their voices. Listening to and acknowledging their experiences will enrich and inform our shared cause of dismantling systemic racism.
As judges, we must recognize the role we have played in devaluing Black lives. We go by the title of justice, and we reaffirm our deepest level of commitment to achieving justice by ending racism. We urge you to join us in these efforts. This is our moral imperative.
As highlighted by the statement by our Supreme Court, these are extraordinary times, particularly in the wake of the murder of George Floyd and the powerful civil uprising it unleashed. It should not be a question of who can afford justice, but rather a question of when will justice be affordable to all. And the question for each of us here today is whether we have the courage and the will to balance the scales of justice. Now, being here this afternoon is an important way of showing your commitment and the will to ensure equal access to justice for all. Thank you. We have an exciting program planned for you. We will honor civil rights attorney and legal icon Lem Howell with the Goldmark Distinguished Service Award. We will see firsthand the impact of legal aid and how it changes the lives of people affected by unemployment in the pandemic. And we'll learn about a groundbreaking case that has the potential to overturn a century-old discriminatory law. And we'll also hear from our keynote speaker, social justice advocate and former Seattle Seahawk, Doug Baldwin Jr. All of that and much, much more. Now, some housekeeping to take care of before we begin. First, congratulations, you have made it to this platform. And now that you're here, join the conversation. Use the chat below to say hello to your friends and colleagues across the state and share what equal justice means to you. Second, if you experience any technical issues at any time during the program, please email tech support at jessican@legalfoundation.org. LFW staff member Jessica will be standing by to help you. Also, as a reminder, please look in the chat for access to closed captioning. And finally, the reason why we're here is to support LFW. The best way to do that is by making a donation in support of equal justice. To make your donation, either click the donate button to the right of this video or just text LFW to 202-858-1233. That's text LFW to 202-858-1233. Or if you're wondering if you can just make a pledge, the answer is yes. Click the donate button and choose pay by check as your payment type, and we will follow up with you after the event. And now, on with the program. To get us started, let us welcome the Executive Director of the Legal Foundation of Washington, Caitlin Davis, who will introduce LFW's president and invite us to honor the heroes in the legal community that we lost this year. Take it away, Caitlin.
I'm Caitlin Davis, the Executive Director of the Legal Foundation of Washington, and I can't tell you how much I look forward to this event every year. This is a way for us to connect with longtime friends and colleagues, and while I can't see your smiling faces, I can feel the good energy coming in, and I want to thank you for being with us here in these extraordinary times. The Legal Foundation of Washington was founded almost 40 years ago to equal the playing field, to provide critical access to legal expertise and resources to those individuals and families across our state who, because they live in poverty, would not be able to afford justice on their own. From King County to Colville to Walla Walla, the Legal Foundation of Washington not only provided critical operating funds, but strategic services, including interpretation, translation, and technology. One of the things we're most proud of is our growing Race Equity Grant Fund, created in 2019 to build power within communities that have been historically overlooked within philanthropy and to combat the disparate outcomes that racism creates for people of color, particularly in the justice system. The Race Equity Grant Program is built on a participatory grant-making model with an advisory panel of community experts who have worked on race equity issues and or lived in communities impacted by poverty and racism. Every person in this community is important, whether you are a donor, a grantee, an elected official, or a community leader. You make our work possible. Thank you so much for coming today. Now I'd like to introduce the new president of the Legal Foundation, Walla Walla native and Spokane attorney, Mike Ponarolo. Mike is a principal in the Spokane law firm of DeLay, Curran, Thompson, Ponarolo, and Walker. A proud Gonzaga Bulldog, he taught at his alma mater as a professor of workers' compensation for over 20 years, and he has served in leadership at the Spokane County Bar, the Washington State Association of Justice, the Washington State Bar Association, and nearest and dearest to my heart, Columbia Legal Services.
Hi, I'm Mike Ponerillo, and I am honored to serve as the president of the Board of Trustees. And I want to welcome each one of you to the Foundation's 35th Annual Goldmark Distinguished Service Award Luncheon. Legal aid is a critical remedy in these times, and I'm humbled by the challenge that's ahead, but I'm heartened by the legal community who this last year helped the Foundation break fundraising records at a time when we were in critical need. Every day, our legal aid grantee organizations are changing the lives of low-income families. Their lawyers can be found in legal clinics, in domestic violence and homeless shelters. They can be found in jail and courtrooms. They can be found any place where their work would be life-changing. This year, we're excited to celebrate the 2021 Goldmark Award honoree, Lembhard Howell. Now, I want to do what I really enjoy doing, and that is to thank those individuals who have helped us over the years and helped us most recently. You know, when we started talking about this virtual thing, we weren't real positive about how this was going to turn out. But a number of corporations and law firms came to our assistance. As presenting sponsors, Amazon, the Berwick Dingle Family Foundation, the Conley Law Offices, Davis Wright Tremaine, DeLay Curran Thompson, Ponerillo and Walker, Johnson, Flora, Spanger, Microsoft, Perkins Coie, and Starbucks all donated $10,000 each so that we could put this together. I also want to thank the 107 law firms that contributed last year to the annual Campaign for Equal Justice. And to those organizations whom we support, I want to thank them for their daily tireless work with the people that are most important, the people that are being deprived of social justice. And finally, to you out there, I want to thank each one of you for sharing today with us and for the donation that I hope that you will provide to us. Thank you.
In the last year, we've lost several people who have been central to our equal justice movement. Sarah Lehrer, Tony Lee, the Honorable Charles Johnson, Bill Gates Sr., Paula Littlewood, and of course, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. In the words of the late, great John Lewis, in the spirit of these people, let's make good trouble. Let's make necessary trouble.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Caitlin, for recognizing those amazing leaders and lawyers. You know, one silver lining for having a virtual event is the wide reach we can have. And I've just heard that we have close to 1,000 people that have joined us today, with people joining us from all across Washington State. We've got friends old and new here today. Here's a quick look at the history of the Legal Foundation of Washington and how far we have come.
I was fortunate to be involved with the Legal Foundation at the outset. It was a novel and innovative program in the 1980s.
As Washington State often does, a lot of great minds and energy came together to figure out how best to deliver legal services for the poor through what was then a newly formed Equal Justice Coalition.
A large part of why it was created is the restrictions on other sources of funding. LFW can step up through the IOLTA program, through raising private funds, and do things that support systemic impact.
When I think of the foundation, I think of the maxim that one person can make a difference. And in this case, $1 can make a difference, especially when compounded and multiplied. Of course, over the years, the foundation has grown. It has survived legal challenges.
For lawyers, we all know the obstacles that are faced by those without the economic resources to hire lawyers. Part of LFW's coordination effort and funding effort, I think, has a really significant ripple effect in allowing the bar and individual lawyers to be more effective in carrying out our pro bono responsibilities, our responsibility to support access to the legal system and to support those organizations that help create access.
Through the years, the foundation has given out literally hundreds of grants to a broad cross-section of organizations. We had no idea the enormous impact that it would have.
Team Child has been a grantee of LFW for many years now. We started our work about 20 years ago in Washington State to address the civil legal needs of young people who are involved in juvenile court. The youth who are our clients had problems or issues in school. Sometimes they needed more stable and safe places to live. And other times they needed just access to basic health care and other needs. And lawyers in civil legal aid do that every day. And what we were able to do as Team Child was to partner with public defenders and offer those services in the moment of that need. And as a result, many of the young people that we worked with were able to have enough stability to stay in the community and not be incarcerated, not have further criminal justice involvement. So we wouldn't be able to do this work without the support from foundations like the Legal Foundation of Washington.
The King County Bar Association being a grantee, but we also are partners with them in raising funds for civil legal aid services throughout the state. Often volunteer lawyer programs are the only legal service that's available to small and rural communities and communities where there aren't big organized civil legal aid programs. Legal Foundation of Washington ensures that the members of those communities have access to justice.
For us at Northwest Immigrant Rights Project, the support from the Legal Foundation of Washington has been critically important so that we can respond to the most immediate community needs. Working with undocumented individuals, doing work around immigration status, working with incarcerated individuals, we want to be there for those clients, and support from LFW is what enables us to be able to be there.
I'm confident that in these challenges ahead, that the foundation will continue to serve those needs, whether they relate to domestic violence, human trafficking, Native rights, housing, race equity, and more.
It takes all of us to meet this incredible need. And my hope is that our legal community throughout the state will continue to answer that call.
And now I'd like to introduce someone who comes from a long line of folks who give back to the community through pro bono work, elected office, and general troublemaking. Former LFW trustee and partner at Davis Wright Tremaine, John Goldmark.
Thank you, Nick. Hi, my name is John Goldmark. My uncle Chuck, after whom this lunch is named, helped found the Legal Foundation of Washington. For that reason, and oh so many more, it has been my distinct honor and privilege to have served on the LFW Board of Trustees for the past 6 years. But what's most special about today is that I get to help recognize my uncle's dear friend and this year's winner of the Goldmark Award, Lem Howell. To Lem, from the whole Goldmark family, and there's a lot of us, we send you our heartfelt congratulations and our deepest appreciation for you and your lifetime fight for equal justice. Chuck would be beyond proud, and yes, smiling, knowing that you're winning this great award in his name. LFW plays a unique and important role in civil legal aid by raising, stewarding, and directing resources to where they're needed most. I'm here today to invite and urge you to support this great cause and the work of the foundation. Here's a story that illustrates why you should. Let's take a look.
Losing your job is one of life's harshest experiences. This year, the COVID-19 pandemic has exponentially increased the need for services by the Unemployment Law Project. We have seen increases coming into our office from claimants who are needing assistance with filing their claims, reaching out and getting information back from ESD, and also representation at their appeal hearings. We've been fortunate enough to increase the number of attorneys who are volunteering with our pro bono program, and we have been able to partner with the Office of Civil Legal Aid to have the assistance of over 60 private attorneys contributing to representing our claimants at hearings.
I've always loved writing and poetry, and When I was 21, I became the youngest person to win the National Poetry Slam in Austin, Texas, which led me on a series of adventures all over the country and eventually to Paris for the World Poetry Slam, where I became the youngest person to win that. As a writer, a lot of writers work in restaurants to pay the bills. We were told to apply for unemployment, and from March until September, October, I didn't receive any benefits at all, and rent was piling up. I was getting anxiety attacks. So I found out about ULP the week of my court date. I think I called them like Tuesday or something, and my court date was Thursday. And Wednesday is when Binaz called. She gave me a lot of hope, I guess, which was the most important thing and something that I had really lost.
We lost our hearing in October because Danny was ineligible for traditional unemployment insurance.
It was pretty devastating when we lost the court case. And the most important thing she did was completely stay on my team. She was like, okay, take a breath. What I need you to do is this, immediately reapply. And she said, you can call me, you can text me, you can email me anytime you want. I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna have your back, we're gonna get you what you need. And she followed through every single time. It was the last week of December. I knew that unemployment was like running out. And she goes, first thing in the morning, call ESD and get a hold of somebody. Don't give up.
They switched over his filings from unemployment insurance, from UI to pandemic unemployment assistance, which is the program that was created for people like Danny, for artists, for individuals traditionally not allowed to have access to unemployment insurance. All of his weeks that he had applied for back since March had been paid instantaneously. With the advocacy of the Unemployment Law Project and Danny's persistence, the system does work, not the traditional system, but the newly created federal system. And it's important to remember as advocates that we have to find every alternative and every opportunity to give access to justice for individuals like Danny.
It's really nice of her to say that I did this or something, but I wouldn't have. I would have just given up on ESD altogether, and I would have thought my state had given up on me and just forgotten me. And Binaz didn't, and now it feels like the dawn has broken. I just want to express my gratitude towards the Unemployment Law Project and Binaz. Thank you so much for not just vanishing and for completely being there in my corner.
LFW is able to make a difference in the lives of clients like Danny because of your generous financial support. Through your support and the work of the Unemployment Law Project, Danny still has a roof over his head, and Danny can continue sharing his unique gifts with this world. But for every person like Danny, there are 3 others who can't access legal aid due to a lack of resources. What will happen if their contribution to our world is silenced? Danny's story shows how much there is to lose. These voices deserve to be heard. The Unemployment Law Project is one of 40 organizations supported by LFW that provide critical legal representation to those in dire need. Over the past year alone, ULP has experienced a 300% increase in the demand for its services. How can we, as lawyers and a community, help make sure that these dramatically growing needs are met? By supporting LFW today. Now, to my fellow members of the bar, we all became lawyers because we care. We want to help people, and we want to fight for justice. As lawyers, we give voices to others. Yet speaking from experience, the demands of private practice can become all too consuming, leaving not enough time for pro bono work, the important work, the work that matters so much in lifting the voices of people of color, the underrepresented, and those without resources. But colleagues, here's the good news. You all, we all, can do something to help lift those voices right now. Join me in making a contribution to LFW today. Your donation helps provide access to legal needs and representations to those who need it most. Click the button to the right of this video and donate right now. Thank you. And back to you, Nick.
Thanks so much, John. And to all of you out there, thank you for helping people like Danny stay on their feet, in their homes, and contributing to the world. The need is great, and so is our goal today. We would like to raise $400,000 by the end of this luncheon. Can we see our thermometer, please? Wow, thanks to everyone's generosity, we've already raised $336,000. People are making donations from across the state, and I want to highlight some folks who have already donated during today's luncheon. Rima Alale and Ryan McBride, $10,000. Jerry Schley, $5,000. And Pete Talbich, $1,000. Thank you to each of you. And remember, there are two ways to donate. You can either click on the donate button to the right of the video player, or you can just text LFW to 202-858-1233 to give. I know we can blow past our goal together and show our commitment to equal justice. Support the Legal Foundation of Washington. Now, let's hear from one of our 16 volunteer lawyer programs funded by LFW. These are programs throughout Washington, from Spokane to Vancouver to Skagit County, that recruit and train volunteer lawyers to help fill the justice gap and provide legal aid to low-income families. We are going to hear from Quinn Dolan at the Yakima County Volunteer Attorney Services, which the Yakima Herald just named the Nonprofit of the Year. Let's take a look.
When you donate to Legal Foundation of Washington, you get to throw out that lifeline to someone who's drowning. My name is Quinn Dolan. I'm the Executive Director of Yakima County Volunteer Attorney Services, and I support Legal Foundation of Washington because I believe that justice is not fair, it's not just unless it's accessible by all. Legal Foundation of Washington has been with us as we've grown from one part-time employee to 3 full-time employees, including a bilingual outreach coordinator who is intentionally working to connect with the 35% of Yakima County residents who only speak Spanish. And that is a huge increase for us and a huge asset to our community, and we're thrilled to have Legal Foundation of Washington support our growth. You should donate to Legal Foundation of Washington because when the system is fair and just, it's better for all of us, and it gives everyone a better sense of trust in our legal system, which is so important. If you can get in and fix one civil legal aid issue before it becomes 3 civil legal issues, you get to make a difference. You get to give someone justice, and there's no better feeling in the world.
As John and Quinn so eloquently said, this work could not be done without your generosity. So keep those dollars for equal justice coming in by clicking on the donate button on your screen. And once again, if you have technical issues during this program, please email Jessica at jessican@legalfoundation.org. Mike Ponarolo thanked our top presenting sponsors for the event. And now it's my pleasure to recognize our legacy sponsors, our leadership sponsors, and our community sponsors. Thank you so much for your support. Now we have a chance to acknowledge our incredibly dedicated individual attorneys who not only support and raise funds for the foundation. It is my pleasure to introduce the president of our annual statewide campaign for equal justice, Tom Vertitas.
Thanks, Nick. Hi, everyone. I'm Tom Vertitas, managing partner at Fowle, Cochran, Vertitas, Amela. I'm thrilled to be here to represent the Campaign for Equal Justice and announce the winners of the coveted Rainier Cup and our 2nd annual Associates Campaign. Each year, the Legal Foundation of Washington awards the Rainier Cup to the County Bar Association with the highest percentage of lawyers donating to the Campaign for Equal Justice. This is a highly sought-after award, and I'm very excited to announce the Rainier Cup goes to Whatcom County. Huge congratulations. This is the 2nd year in a row for Whatcom. Even during the pandemic, the Whatcom County Bar held on to their lead. The runner-up this year was Skagit County. Congratulations all. Thanks to the individual outreach to community leaders across our state, we are able to keep raising more money every year for civil legal aid. I'd like to make a special shout out to all 40 of my fellow Campaign Equal Justice board members. Thank you for helping us raise critical and necessary funds from individuals, law firms, and companies. We could not do this work without you. Now, I'm excited to tell you about the Associates Campaign for Equal Justice. This is a new initiative to bring a young leadership into our work as ambassadors for justice. In our second annual Associates Campaign, associate teams at 9 law firms in King County worked together to raise almost $90,000 in 2 weeks. And impressively, they raised twice as much as last year. Now, to keep things fun and competitive, we are excited to announce that for the second year in a row, the Associates of Keller Rohrbach have won both the Amicus Cup for participation rate and the Generous Counsel Cup for the highest average gift. Now, along with Keller Rohrbach, 3 other firms got 100% participation. Special recognition to Foster Garvey, Miller Nash, Graham and Dunn, and Schwabe, Williamson, and Wyatt. This was a big year of growth for the Associates Campaign, and we want to give special thanks to the associates and partners at Davis Wright Tremaine for raising more money than any other law firm this year. Thank you for your leadership, Davis Wright Tremaine, and for continuing to lead on civil justice. Special thank you to our co-chairs, Ms. Brianna Swift at K&L Gates and Mr. Brooks Lindsay at Foster Garvey, and our entire committee. These associates inspired more than 400 people to donate to the campaign. Gifts ranged from $100 to even over $1,000, and we are incredibly proud of this effort and these new leaders who committed themselves to this important cause of equal access to justice. Our hats are off to you, and back to you, Nick.
Thanks, Tom, and congratulations to Whatcom County and Keller Rohrbach. It is really inspiring to hear about the Associates Campaign. What a great way to get new attorneys involved in the legal aid network. If your firm isn't a part of it yet, you can join us this fall. Now, taking a pro bono case and supporting the Legal Foundation of Washington has been a very rewarding part of my legal career. And I encourage everyone out there who has not had a chance to get involved to come to a campaign event this year. And it seems that the work of the Associates Campaign is inspiring others to be generous and to give. The donations are really pouring in. I want to highlight some of the individual attorneys who are donating right now as we meet together. Jack Connolly with a $10,000 donation. Mark and Mary Griffin with a $2,000 donation. Rachel Gonzalez with a $1,000 donation, and Ron Knox with a $500 donation. Thank you very, very much. Can we get our new tally, please? Amazing. We're at over $366,000. Thank you to all the donors, and please keep those dollars for equal justice coming in. And remember, there are 2 ways to donate. You can either click on the donate button to the right of the video player, or you can just text LFW at 202-858-1233. Now, as you know, fundraising is a never-ending quest, and we're always trying to think of new and innovative ways to fund legal aid. Well, one of those ideas has become a reality more than 20 years ago with the creation of the Endowment for Equal Justice. They just hit an important milestone for legal aid in Washington. Let's take a look.
When Dave Andrews and I founded the Endowment for Equal Justice more than 20 years ago, our goal was to provide long-term funding stability to the civil legal aid providers who are helping people access justice every day in our community.
Unrestricted funds are so important because the funding that we get from the state and federal government have restrictions. The other sources of funding are like the rain. We get in and out, but some years are going to be lean years, and you never know, in fact, when you may not get any rain at all.
Whether it's an endowment for a college or an endowment for a church, it is the proceeds from that endowment that ensure a steady stream of financial support And in this case, we're talking about legal services for the least able to afford it.
With the pandemic, which we've all seen has really heightened and furthered the gap we have between the haves and the have-nots, now more than ever, the need for this type of funding is paramount.
My hope is that through organizations like LFW and this endowment, it will be a bridge to one day having a constitutional right for civil legal aid.
I'm especially grateful today to reflect upon the extraordinary generosity of so many to the Endowment for Equal Justice and the Reach 20 campaign.
In 2016, we set an audacious goal of raising $5 million to grow the endowment to $20 million. With your help, we have achieved that goal. I want to thank everyone who helped us reach this critical milestone that will enable the endowment to disperse at least $1 million a year to the Legal Foundation of Washington for its grants that support the Northwest Immigrant Rights Project, the Benefits Law Center, and the East Side Legal Assistance Program, among so many others. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you for all that give both to the campaign and the endowment. I want to encourage all of you to keep on giving.
Poverty cannot stand in the way of justice. And with your contributions and commitments, we can assure that that never is the case.
What a really outstanding program. And we continue to get donations coming in today. From John Aslan, $10,000. Laura Gerber, $1,000. And Kirsten Barron, $2,500. Thank you very much. Now we are here to celebrate our love and appreciation for the 2021 Goldmark Award honoree, Lem Howell, and to express our gratitude to him for his decades-long dedication to the cause of equal justice. Here to present Lem with his award, please welcome the former LFW board president, Mark Johnson.
2 knocks on 2 doors, 70 years apart. In the spring of 1936, 86-year-old Granny Lovey, a midwife, knocked on the door of a small house in the parish of St. Catherine in rural southeast Jamaica. Shortly thereafter, Granny Lovey delivered a baby boy. The baby's parents, Cleve and Daisy Howell, named him Lembhard. 70 years later, in 2006, the 4-person of a Northern California jury knocked on the door of its jury room, alerting the bailiff to the fact that the jury had reached its verdict. The case was a commercial truck accident, personal injury, and wrongful death case. The plaintiff's lawyer, Lem Howell, rose to take the verdict. The life that Lem led in those 70 years between the 2 knocks and thereafter is nothing short of extraordinary. His commitment to and passionate advocacy for equal racial justice stands unparalleled by any lawyer in our state. Lem moved from Jamaica with his mother and younger sister and brother to the Sugar Hill neighborhood in Manhattan when he was 10 years old. His father was already working there. Lem's mother passed away when he was 11. After college, he went on active duty with the Navy and became the first Black officer on the USS General Randall. He received his law degree from New York University in 1964. However, because at the time, law firms in New York didn't hire Blacks, Lem headed west, and New York's loss has been Washington's gain. He was the first Black lawyer to serve on the Washington State Bar Association Board of Governors, and he was the first Black officer for the Association of Trial Lawyers of America. Lem chaired the Washington State delegation to the 1984 Democratic National Convention. His chairmanship was supported by a friend of his, another delegate, Chuck Goldmark. Now back to those 2 knocks. Granny Lovey's role in Lem's life didn't end with bringing him into the world. Granny Lovey was the great-grandmother of Pat Richards, who later became Pat Howell, Lem's wife of now over 60 years. And as to that second knock in 2006, a bit of history first. When Lem tried the California truck accident case, he was 70 years old, and he had everything that he had worked for since he was admitted to our bar in 1966 on the line. During the trial, The defense offered $5 million to settle the case. Despite the risk of financial ruin at the age of 70, Lem advised his client to turn down the $5 million offer. He did so for the same reason that he did everything during his career. It was the right thing to do. After hearing the 4-person knock, the bailiff brought the jury back and it returned its verdict, awarding $11.3 million to Lem's clients. The Charles A. Goldmark Distinguished Service Award has been given annually since 1987 by the Board of Trustees of the Legal Foundation of Washington to individuals and institutions who have made a significant impact on equal civil justice. It is my personal and professional pleasure to present the Legal Foundation of Washington's 2021 Charles A. Goldmark Distinguished Service Award to Lembhard Gladstone Howell.
You have to be fair in this life. And that's why I just love the law, especially good law. And as lawyers, you're there to help people. And that's been a great pleasure of mine.
My sister and I got the wrong impression because when we were little, it was like he was going out to play. Of course, you know, he wasn't sharing with us at that age any of the challenges of being in practice.
Lem has been at the forefront of civil rights, primarily in the African American community, as the go-to person to with your challenging cases, or when you felt like there was no one else to assist you or that was willing to help you. Whether it was student athletes, whether it was individuals at construction sites, whether it was individuals against law enforcement, and a host of other areas, he fought systems, he fought what he thought were injustices.
He was willing to take on those causes, not because he thought that they were winners, but because he thought that those were fights that were worth having, and that it would be better for us as a community and as a nation. He was courageous when it really mattered. He's been doing it since the 1960s, and he is still a warrior on the battleground now for civil rights.
He's a true trial lawyer, one who fights in the courtroom and has won countless battles.
In his practice, there weren't mock juries, so sometimes we filled in. If an 11-year-old or a 10-year-old can understand and make sense of it, then it may well resonate with a jury.
Lem is one of the original founders of the Lauren Miller Bar Association. That's the organization of African American lawyers and judges. He started that organization with others at a time when African American lawyers weren't necessarily well received in the city of Seattle or in the law community. And they've created an organization that is thriving today.
Lem is that unique figure who comes along once in a lifetime or in a generation, who has all of the charisma, respect, admiration, and the success. And because of that, Lem has inspired an entire generation of new civil rights advocates here in the great Northwest.
He and my mom did a great job instilling a strong sense of responsibility to give back. Is this core belief or core optimism that we can make things right, that this country can be better?
All of those police brutality cases he was handling back in the day when no one believed that police could be brutalizing citizens. And he did it at a time when it was super unpopular and no one wanted to hear about it, and he did it for free.
He found it profoundly disturbing and upsetting and always questioned whether deadly force was necessary. These were opportunities to press for change in police department practices, to help families through the profound pain that they were experiencing at the loss of a loved one.
He continues to challenge systemic bias and to find ways to root it out. He is as relevant now as he was at the beginning of his career.
There are a couple of things that they have to do. They have to outlaw the chokehold. They have to have better training, and they have to remove any type of false immunity for police officers who do wrong. To my fellow practitioners out there, you take these civil rights cases and help to bring justice to the community.
Dad, I know that Chuck Goldmark and his family have a very special place in your heart. And I want to congratulate you on being awarded the Goldmark Distinguished Service Award. We're all incredibly proud of you. Congratulations.
And on behalf of all of those young lawyers who've seen what you've done, Lem, and recognize the value of your life and your practice and want to be like you, we say thank you and congratulations on this well-deserved honor.
You've earned the right, Lem. You've paid your dues in ways that people will never, ever know. And I want you to know from the bottom of my heart, I deeply appreciate everything that you've done for me in my career. And I want you to know one other thing. I love you, Lem. Congratulations. This is well-deserved recognition.
God has been very good to me and blessed me. And the greatest blessing, of course, has been my wife, Pat, of putting up with me for 61 years. And we were also blessed with 2 daughters and 3 great-granddaughters. And I want to thank many colleagues in the legal profession. This award means a lot to me because Chuck Goldmark was a close personal friend. We were neighbors. He lived across the alley from us, and my youngest daughter used to babysit his kids. And I really miss him today. And I think he might even smile to know that I got an award named for him. So I am very grateful, and it's deeply appreciated.
Amazing. Congratulations to you and your family, Lem. You are truly an icon in this legal community. And right now, we're seeing so many donations being made to LFW, specifically in your honor. I also want to highlight a $5,000 donation by Lucy Helm and a $5,000 donation by Paula Boggs, specifically in honor of Dave Andrews. Our next story highlights the groundbreaking systemic impact of our largest annual partnership grantee, Columbia Legal Services. Now, this recent case confronted the exclusion of dairy workers from overtime pay in Washington. This effort was years in the making, and it illustrates how one case can have a dramatic impact and increase equity and justice on so many people. Let's meet 2 brave dairy workers, Mr. Jose Martinez and Ms. Patricia Aguilar.
We used to work like 11, 12 hours sometimes for the same amount of money. It's like supposed to be like 8 hours. So that's what I see, a lot of violations right there, and I say, this is not right.
In 2016, Columbia Legal Services was approached by the Northwest Justice Project. They had heard from individual farm workers that there were serious problems at a dairy farm in eastern Washington. There were over 300 dairy workers at that dairy that needed legal representation.
This was really a great team collaboration with our 2 class representatives, Mr. Martinez and Ms. Aguilar, along with our co-counsel, Mark Cody, and a great team of CLS advocates, ultimately with a great team of amicus attorneys. This is a dairy that runs 24/7. They milk 3,000 cows each shift.
He trabajado en las lecherías por 16 meses. No nos daban el lonche como se debía de dar. El lunchroom eran las ratas and the floor all over the place. Había botes de aceite, líquidos, químicos en ese mismo cuarto donde comíamos. Los breaks por la misma cosa. No habían breaks.
When workers work long hours and don't take breaks, they get tired and they are at risk of injury. And here, both Mr. Martinez and Ms. Aguilar experienced serious injuries.
Me pateó una vaca aquí en el brazo. Me puso una pata arriba de mi mano cuando puse la mano así en el floor. Es muy peligroso. Yo llegué a mirar personas que le pegaron en el pecho. Y lo peor del caso no es esta, sino que el mayordomo hacía que esperara hasta que viniera la supervisora para que pudieran ir al hospital. 40 minutos, 30 minutos esperando y con mucho dolor.
We thought about both how to address the dangerous conditions farm workers face on the job every day, and we made a conscious effort here to reveal and address systemic racism within our legal framework.
Over 99% of farm workers in Washington state are Latinx.
The employers are treating their workers less humane than the livestock or the cows. And I think it was actually Mr. Martinez who said at the first meeting that one of the managers told him that these cows are worth more than you.
The Overtime Pay Act, of course, was adopted in the 30s as part of the New Deal, really, to make sure that people were treated fairly. So when you exclude someone from that, you better have a good reason. In this case, the reason for the exclusion was, frankly, that people of color might take advantage of it. FDR himself was very concerned about giving overtime pay to black farm workers in the South because it might disrupt Jim Crow and it might cost him votes.
It is very important to bring the historical context in and for lawyers working within the system to make these examinations.
Agricultural work is arduous and dangerous. I think we agree on that. The workers are exposed to heat and cold in the fields, and they labor in geographic isolation. They're less likely to be voters, less likely to speak English as a first language, aren't wealthy, in fact, are among the poorest workers in the nation. They have a shorter life expectancy, a higher incidence of disease and disability, limited access to health care, insurance, and education, less likely to have employer-provided health benefits, higher rates of sexual harassment and assault, higher rates of other exploitation, including financial, higher exposure to toxins, more likely to be people of color, at least now, less likely to have sanitary and stable housing, less likely to have collective bargaining rights, less likely to have lobbyists, less likely to make campaign contributions to elected officials. Would you then still suggest that it's a coincidence that labor laws have consistently excluded them from the protections afforded other workers?
The court has recognized for decades that farm work is extremely dangerous work. And here, the court based its decision on Article 2, Section 35, which protects all workers in dangerous jobs. So these concepts together mean that all farm workers should be entitled to overtime. The decision came out earlier this fall, and in late November, the dairy and the industry interveners filed a motion for reconsideration. So that is now pending before the court. We sure hope that is resolved quickly. Mr. Martinez and Ms. Aguilar, they were incredibly courageous in coming forward to risk retaliation and to continue on in this struggle for many years for the benefit of all farm workers.
La experiencia que tuve, muy bonita, muy maravillosa, en mirar que hay organizaciones que están para ayudar, para proteger los derechos del trabajador. Y eso, muy agradecido. Yo tengo esperanza, tengo fe. I hope we can go all the way and make a change, not only in Yakima County, all over the place.
Wow. As you just heard in the video, the Washington Supreme Court ruled in November 2020 that Washington's 60-year exclusion of dairy farmers from overtime pay is unconstitutional. This multi-year effort by LFW's largest grantee, Columbia Legal Services, could have a truly life-changing impact on the quality of life for hundreds of farm workers, a group of people historically marginalized with few rights or representation. Civil legal aid is truly a lifeline. When you donate today, you will be helping families access the representation only civil legal aid can provide. And you will be supporting the advocacy and impact litigation like the Martinez case that has both the power to change thousands of lives for the better and help us all. These are extraordinary times, and we are going to ask those of you who can to consider an extraordinary amount. Last year, we had a handful of donors give $10,000 at this luncheon. If you are able to make a gift of this size, please do so now. Your gift will make an impact. Here are some examples. With a donation of $5,000, you can help train a new group of 50 volunteer attorneys, helping them to serve hundreds of new clients. With a donation of $1,000, you can help obtain special juvenile immigrant status for one undocumented youth or child to keep them in the U.S. when going home to their country is not an option. If you can donate $500, you can help us reinstate veteran or Social Security benefits to help someone move off the streets into stable housing. With a donation of $250, we can secure a domestic violence protection order to keep a family safe. And with a donation of $100, you can help defend one family against eviction to keep them housed and a roof over their head. Please join me and join us. Click the donate button now. I know we have the will and we have the courage. Now is the time. Low-income families need your support now more than ever. Thank you so much for your generosity and commitment to the highest calling of all, equal justice. Back to you, Nick.
Thanks so much, John. This is really incredible. Donations are flying in from across the state. Thank you to Julie Farish, Yemi Jackson, Beth Henderson, Russ Aoki, Kellen Thade, Michelle and Matt Worsfelder. Anything you can do to give today to help is a huge help. And remember, there are two ways to donate. You can either click on the donate button to the right of the video player, or you can just text LFW to 202-858-1233 to give. And now, I'm very excited to introduce our keynote speaker, a graduate of Stanford University with a degree in science, technology, and society. Our speaker enjoyed an 8-year NFL career where he won a Super Bowl and played in 2 Pro Bowls. He was selected as a 2013 Seahawks Man of the Year for his extraordinary leadership and service in the community, all while leading the NFL in touchdown receptions. He is now a board member with the Players Coalition and spearheaded the creation of the Seahawks Players and Equality and Justice for All Action Fund. He's a 2018 Muhammad Ali Sports Humanitarian Award finalist and continues to focus his efforts on being a catalyst for social change by creating and supporting initiatives that aim to serve the greater good. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Doug Baldwin, Jr.
Appreciate that, Nick. We're going to have some fun today. I just want to let you all know that. And from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you for your effort and for your generosity. I don't know if we're allowed to say this, but we have hit our goal, right? $400,000 you all raised within an hour. That's incredible. And the people that are going to be served from that $400,000, the people that are going to be helped, you're a part of that. So thank you. All right, let me start off by saying this. Nick, I just want to say thank you for that introduction. You did a hell of a job. Also, I want to say thank you to Nick's mom. She actually gave up her season tickets for the Seahawks when I retired. Loyalty right there. Just got to say that. So thank you to Nick's mom. I don't want to talk about all of the initiatives and all of the success that Legal Foundation of Washington has had. We've gone through it. You know it. I could spend all day up here talking about all of the wonderful things that LFW has done and all of their partners. And I could also talk about the things that I've done in the community. But I want to go back to my childhood just for a second. I grew up on the back end of the Salvation Army. It was a community center. And that community center it was my second home. It's where I learned discipline. It's where I started playing sports. It's where I got mentors and tutors. It was where I really found the foundation of who I am now, this day. And when I was there at that community center, the main thing that always stood out to me and stands out to me the most, even as I am a man today, becoming the man that I am today, is that the people there saw me. They recognized me for the individual that I was, flawed and all. They loved me and accepted me for the man that I was and for the man that I was going to become. And what we're doing today is we're demonstrating that empathy in a different way. And I really want to harp on that. I really want to focus on that. Again, I can talk about all the things that LFW has done, what Howell has done. Congratulations, Lem. This is obviously a celebration of you and all of your hard work. But I think what Lem would also tell you is that we don't want to spend time talking about the things that we have done. We don't want to talk about the things that we are going to do. But what we need to focus on is right now, here in the present. What I learned in that back end of the Salvation Army and what I learned in my football playing days is that you have to be focused on the task at hand. And the task at hand in front of us requires all of our attention. We can look around in society and see that things are not right, see that things need to be changed. And we collectively together can have an impact on that. We have an effort to do this together. And I think one of the most important things that we can recognize in totality together is that we are all human beings on this planet, floating through space, trying to survive and thrive. And if we can get to that level of empathy and acknowledging that we are all human beings, flawed, but also seeing each other, flaws and all, accepting each other, loving each other for the people that we are now and for the people that we're going to become, imagine the impact that we can have. Imagine the work that we can do. But I don't want you to think about that impact. I don't want you to imagine that work that we are going to do. I want you to be focused on the present, here, now, because all of our attention is going to be required to make that difference. And so with you, I am grateful for this opportunity, the work that we are going to do, the work that we are doing right now. $400,000. Think about everything that's going to happen because of that, but you did it right now in this present moment. And don't forget that. When you go out in your daily lives, remember to be focused and present in the moment that you have, because that is really the only moment that you have. And you can make a difference when you focus just on that opportunity. I really don't have much else to say. I want to pass it back over to Nick, but I just want to say, I guess I will say this last thing. Love. Love. You know, it's a word that we use and we say all the time. We say to loved ones, we say to people that we genuinely care about. But what does it really mean? What does it really mean for us to look at each other as human beings on this planet, regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of your status, regardless of how much money you have in the bank, regardless of anything that doesn't matter? You're a human being. And what can we do? How can we impact? How can we change the world if we really took that word love and meant it? I'm a man of faith. I'm not going to push it down you, but I'm a man of faith. And what I truly believe in is loving your neighbor. How can we change the world if we really enacted that, if we really lived that out? This is an opportunity for you all to do that. And I'm encouraging you to do that because our world needs it. I have 2 daughters. They need it. I want this world to be a better place for them. And so I'm asking you all to just do that and encourage and inspire others to do that. Simply love. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. And thank you for your message of love and empathy. Thank you for your continued work in the community. And thank you for your support for LFW. And thank you personally, the shout out to my mom. I appreciate it. All right, everyone. We have come to the end of our program. Let's take one final look at our fundraising thermometer. Drum roll, please. Our grand total this afternoon is $402,102. We did it. We reached our goal. Thank you to our donors from across the state. Thank you for everyone who has logged on to join us today. Thank you to the men and women lawyers volunteering their time, their efforts, and their money to support LFW. We appreciate you and we need you. This work is about all of us having the courage and the will to stand up against injustice. This is about equal access to justice for all people across Washington state. Thank you, everyone. We will see you next year in person for the 36th annual Goldmark Award Luncheon. Till then, stay safe, keep fighting for equal justice, and bring love and empathy to your work. Thank you.